Hello, Mr. Governor. Thank you so much for joining us today here on CGTN. First of all, a big welcome to Fujian, a beautiful coastal province in southeastern China. I've learned you and your delegation will spend about a week traveling across the province to several cities. So what's your expectation from the visit? Can we see some cooperative projects after the trip?
Well, that is our aspiration, and that is why we came over here. And in fact, we requested that they prolong it for 2 to 3 days so that we could see other places, because we also want to see the best practices, and of course the poverty alleviation programs that you did, and the doable things that we could do and adapt in our province.
You are here to attend the opening ceremony of the China-ASEAN Year of People-to-People Exchanges. And speaking of exchanges and cooperation, what do you see as the most important achievements between China and the Philippines in recent years?
Well, as far as exchanges are concerned, we have always been connected to China. No, if you go to our place, we have a lot of local Chinese communities. No? I grew up with them. In fact, in my own town, we have a Chinese school. We call it Kechin Elementary School. But it was unfortunate for us because when China opened up in '84, our province closed because our seaport has closed. We don't even have an international airport in the region. And that is why we have been limited to exchanges locally. And we feel that it is now time again to reopen our connections to the world, especially with China, whose unprecedented growth in the last 30 years is unprecedented in human history.
Both China and the Philippines are developing countries. They both have the task to develop economy, to improve people's livelihood, and to pursue the modernization. So in what areas do you think the two countries can expand their cooperation and to learn from each other?
You know, our province is, at this point in time, is landlocked because our only seaport, the biggest seaport in the north, has closed because of the siltation of the river. It's a river port. And this is the very reason why we want to have exchanges with other neighbors. In fact, we were only limited to exporting our people. And I think that is not the way to go through developing a nation and developing a province, especially my province. We are the center of education, center of religion, center of government, and even our center of economy in our region. But really, we just have domestic exchanges. And that is why it is very, very important to have these exchanges, no? Economic, cultural, people to people, and grassroots exchanges, and how we could learn, no? And even political. We are searching for a model of how we could grow as a nation, just like China in the last 40 years.
Geographically, Cagayan Province is very close to China. It started to conduct exchanges with China hundreds of years ago.
Right.
And I remember you also said that your province is willing to become the bridge between China and the Philippines. So how can your province play such a role?
Well, that is very, very true. You know, geographically, no, we are in the middle of North and Southeast Asia. We are talking of course, China, Korea, and Japan. No? And we're closest to them. And that is why we see our role at this point in time, especially with the tension, the Taiwan tension. And that is why I feel that I have to talk about what our people feel and what is best for our people in the province. And I feel that at this point in time, we could be the bridge between the South and the North. No? Furthermore, we see China as our possible partner in so many ways, no? Especially in providing food, because we have an underdeveloped agriculture, underdeveloped aquaculture, fishery, and even livestock. And furthermore, we also have a tropical weather, no? And of course, friendly people, young people too, educated people too. And that is why we see Chinese tourists coming in if we have an international airport, and of course the international seaport that we dream of of reopening.
There are still some sensitive issues, such as the Taiwan question. And Cagayan Province is located on the northeastern tip of the Luzon Island, facing Taiwan. So as the governor, what's your take on the Taiwan question?
Well, we have always believed the one China policy. It has always been espoused by the Western countries, especially the United States of America, and we have always believed in that. And we always practice that too. That has not changed. I don't see anything that would affect our bilateral relationship with the People's Republic of China.
The South China Sea issue is another thing that we cannot avoid discussing when it comes to China-Philippines ties. How do you view the maritime dispute between the two countries?
Well, I have been part of the administration of President Noynoy Aquino. I was a member of the cabinet, and there was some maritime dispute. There was an offer from China to have a bilateral talk, and we voted on that. I was one of those who voted because I was a member of the cabinet. We opted a multilateral talk, and really there was no agreement at all. And I was so happy when President Bongbong Marcos came over here in China and had a talk with President Xi Jinping. And there was this agreement on continuous dialogue as far as the maritime dispute is concerned. And I felt that this is a precursor to a bilateral talk in the years to come. And I'm still expecting that to happen. And I believe that all this should be taken bilaterally between the two countries, and no other country should be involved.
Last year, the people of Cagayan opposed expanding U.S. military presence in your province. Why is that?
Well, historically, I would say that any foreign force in our country has been a magnet to a possible attack by the enemies of that foreign force. In World War II, when Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japan, because the American bases were there, 10 hours after that, our country was also attacked. Japan is not our enemy. Japan is also our neighbor, just like China. But we were engaged in a war which was not ours. And I believe that should never happen again in this part of the world, especially in Asia. Especially that economic growth is now, in the world, is now concentrated here in Asia. And I have always talked of Asia for Asians. I believe that it's our time to really grow and that it should be inclusive, meaning even the poor nations should be part of that growth too. I'm against any foreign forces in my province, and I believe that this is the right thing to do, and I think history will judge me right.
Nowadays, many people say we're facing a more complex international situation. So facing such an environment, how do you see the future of China-Philippines ties?
I think it will improve as we go along, because we see the destruction. We see the destruction in Israel. We see it, in Ukraine. And I think this is being absorbed by any Filipino for that matter, and the world for that matter. And that is why I think there will always be changes in how people will perceive all these events that are happening now in the world. And I think our relationship will improve through the years.